We've reached a point where Buick doesn't make any cars, only SUVs, and this one's made in China. It's the Buick Envision, and it's traveled a long way to get here right in front of you and next to me. It's compact, 40 grand as you see it here, pretty nice inside and out. I think it looks a lot better than a lot of small Mercedes SUVs. But it is a Buick, and that's a brand that no one thinks is that exciting or luxurious, and yet in China, Buick is associated with royalty. So these are two totally different images of Buick. So you could get this car, or say an Infiniti QX50, a Lincoln Corsair, maybe the new Hyundai Santa Fe Calligraphy. A lot of nice cars out there. So for 40 grand, is it really good? Keep watching, but don't fast forward, because we want your full engagement. Drop us a comment below because we want to know, what cars and trucks do you want to see CarGurus review next? So let's get on with the show. Remove the Buick badge, and how would you envision the Envision? Honestly, you could take the names off of most new cars, and most people wouldn't know what they were looking at. I see an Opel, which is the European brand General Motors used to own and imported here, in part as the Buick Regal. Now that car is out of production, including the Regal Tour X wagon. How cool was that? Apparently it wasn't, because most buyers want a shape like this. I like it. I like it a lot more than the first Buick Envision, which had that tall, kind of misshapen European MPV kind of thing going on. That's why you didn't see too many of them. This one is a lot more svelte, right? It's a little more curvaceous, got some nice curves in it. It's still generic looking, right? Because a lot of these crossovers without that big badge on the front, you might not know what you're looking at. If you put a Mercedes star on there, I guarantee this Buick would be selling a lot more than it is right now. And I think it actually looks a lot better than the GLA. I tested that one recently. But overall, I like it. It's a crisp design, it's got a high clearance, but the roof line is low, so it doesn't look too tall and out of proportion. So what do you guys think? The back of the Buick Envision is like the side and the rest of it. Without the badge, you don't really know what you're looking at. It's good, it's inoffensive, it's gonna actually age a lot better than some of the Hyundai and Kia designs that are out there that are way wilder. So at the same time where you can't recognize this car in traffic, 10 years from now, I think it'll still look good. The Envision is bigger than it appears. It's longer and roomier than a Mazda CX-5, yet it's not as big as a Hyundai Santa Fe. So many of these crossovers overlap in size, they can be hard to differentiate. But among General Motors vehicles, well, this one is way better than most Chevys at this price, even more. I find it also interesting that it took a Buick to be built in China to be the best interior they have in the US. The center stack is angled toward the driver with this 10-inch touchscreen, and 8-inch is standard. The colors are pleasing, so is the stitching, the metal look trim, and the leather. The seats actually have a design, and they're contoured. That's something you don't get on a Chevy Blazer that costs 50 grand. This Buick is 40, and it's the middle trim, the Essence. The Avenir trim has quilted leather and a few other perks. Again, there's nothing crazy going on inside the Envision. It's a pleasing array of colors, of textures, good fit and finish. All of it makes it feel worth the asking price. And of course, there's good room, including in back. 25 cubic feet behind these seats and 53 when folded. You'll fit more than 70 in a Nissan Rogue, which is just as long as this Buick. But the Buick has a really good Turbo 4, which I'll demonstrate right now. This is a 2-liter inline-4 with a turbo, and it's 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. 9-speed transmission, front or all-wheel drive. I'm driving the front-wheel drive car, and the surprising thing is that there's not a lot of torque steer. Torque steer is what happens when you're in a front-wheel drive car and you mash the gas and the steering wheel starts to do this, because all that power is both driving the wheels and steering the car. You can't do both things at the same time well. But Buick manages to control that pretty well. So even without all-wheel drive, I feel pretty secure. This is not a vehicle that you'd want to have in the snow, really, without some good winter tires, because the Continentals that are on here right now, they're quiet, but they're the low rolling resistance type, which means that they're not optimized for high traction. For fuel economy, for noise, yes, but anything other than that, you're just not going to get it with this car. But what you do get is an engine that sounds good. A lot of the GM Turbo 4s before this, and I'm including ones that were in Cadillacs, pretty harsh, loud. and just kind of annoying, really. They made more power than this engine, but I'll gladly take less power in this Buick for more refinement. That's what this has. The 9-speed transmission. It's unobtrusive. It's actually good. I wouldn't have expected that. I'm actually annoyed at a lot of the 9-speeds in some of the other cars, even in Land Rovers and Acuras, they've had those before. They jerk around, they've got some weird downshift qualities. There's just too many gears in a small package in a front-wheel drive car, but not this one. This one reacts. And I like these paddle shifters too. They're actually half paddle shifters. So the top of my fingers here are on the shifter, and then I can have the radio controls right beneath them, kind of go right up and down like that. You have to drive it to kind of experience that, but it really is nice on a day-to-day basis because I can shift and change the volume. Pretty handy. Now I'll tell you something about Buick versus Chevys, other vehicles in its category. They call it quiet tuning, and they call it that way for a reason because it actually is quiet in here. There's more insulation, there's insulation on the windows, all throughout the car. And I can say, honestly, that it does make a difference. I don't have a decibel meter, but that part of the marketing hype is actually true. There's a sport mode on this Buick. I'll activate it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think the effect is more psychological. So if you think you're driving sporty, I guess if this qualifies as that, then you're in sport mode. Oh yeah. Whoa, whoa. And that's not really to make fun of the engine because I've already said it's good. It's just, come on. Even if you put this thing on 20-inch tires, which it is available, it's not what it's for. And it doesn't float. So your old expectations of Buick, Park Avenues and LeSabres going down the highway like this, you still see a lot of Buicks like that on the highway. I saw a bunch on the way up here today. This car doesn't do that. It's controlled. It's nicely damped. And that's the whole point of buying at least a semi-luxury or a luxury crossover. You want to be comfortable, right? If you really want sport, you can get an X3M, right? Or an AMG GLC, all those crazy European hot rod crossovers. But presumably you don't want that, even if you can afford it. It's all about comfort, and that it delivers. Fuel economy on this front-wheel drive model is 24 city and 31 highway. The all-wheel drive is 22 and 29. Yeah, they're all right. Nothing to brag about. I can get the same thing in a mid-sized luxury car. Same exact fuel economy, pretty much. But fuel economy is not really your prime consideration in really any crossover. You really want the space. You want the utility. And you want the everyday ease of driving. This has it. But the steering, yeah, nope, it's really not there. There's hardly any on-center feel. It's almost like I'm in a video game simulator. There's a lot more feedback in a lot of these video game sims I've driven than this Buick. And as a result, you don't really feel that connected with the car, right? The Chevy Blazer, for example, that has some good effort to it and it really sticks to the road. That's a much sportier vehicle. This car is just not tuned for that. And I'm okay with it, but I would just like a little bit more control. The same thing with the brakes. They're just a little touchy. It feels firm at first, and then you kind of get on it and you're like, sometimes like right there, I like push down too much. It's hard to be as smooth with this car. The more I drive the Envision, the more I think, hey, am I driving a luxury car? The answer is no. Am I driving an economy car? No. That's really Buick's problem. As a company, what are they, right? The cars are semi-expensive, but they're also not cheap. So I'm just wondering, maybe differentiate it a little bit more. Put in a bigger motor, slap on a little stiffer suspension, paint it all black. Remember the Regal GNX? That was a car that in the 80s was turbocharged. It was unlike any other Buick. And these days, if you get a Grand National, you're probably looking at a six-figure car on the auction block. Now, most people are probably not going to care about that, but how are you going to draw in a younger clientele that's used to performance brands like Mercedes AMG and BMW M and things like that? Even the Acuras these days, right? They're putting out a lot more horsepower and just more interesting features in those cars. So I think Buick has some room to step up. So let that be a challenge. I think it's possible. Ooh, those brakes again, God. Fix that first though. The tech, it's accessible, it's easy. It's the same infotainment you'll find in any GM vehicle, and there's nothing really to relearn. It's fast, shortcut menus, system is just super easy to browse, boom, 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 done. The settings are organized by function and app. It's really easy to get around here and change things. There's an app store to download GM-approved apps on the car, like the Wall Street Journal, for example. There's Amazon Alexa, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, standard forward emergency braking, and lane keep assist. Now, I really like the cameras. They are crystal clear. GM says they're HD. Truly, they are. So clear, so many views. One thing you won't find in any other GM vehicle that I'm aware of is an air quality monitor. There's a 0 here on the infotainment screen. I didn't know what it was, but you press it, and it gives you an exact reading of the particulate matter that's in the air, and a whole range of numbers here. Right now, we're at 0, which is good. There's a good head-up display with multiple layouts, and this instrument panel screen is really easy to read in between these gauges. But there's nothing to relearn here, which is kind of a good thing. The Envision starts at $31,800 for the Preferred. My Essence has only 2 options, the Technology package and the Dark Moon Blue paint for $39,990 with Destination. You can go as high as $47,000 in the Avenir. But Buicks are on sale. Heck, they're always on sale. And when they're on sale next to luxury brands, this car can make sense. You will pay a premium for this car, just like the Toyota Venza we reviewed, versus a more conventional SUV. And as nice as it is, I'm not convinced it delivers the full luxury experience. I think there's way too many crossovers on sale today. Like, where do they start and where do they end? I ask myself that question all the time. And the Buick Envision, it's in the middle of it all. It's a middle ground car because it's small, but not very small, kind of luxurious, but normal, and it's not cheap, but it's also not expensive. So if you want a crossover that's just gonna do everything right and satisfactory, but not blow you away on any particular detail, this is a good choice. It's got a really nice interior for the price. It's quiet, runs good. Overall, the styling is nice. So what do you guys think? Would you buy one of these, or say a Mazda, or maybe a luxury BMW? Tell us in the comments, subscribe to the CarGurus YouTube channel, and keep watching. We'll see you next time.